Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Mix 1041. We're on mixtv.tv, and it's time now for our weekly segment with the Logan Thompson Law Firm. And I'm joined by my longtime friend, Robert Thompson. Robert, how are you?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me again.
Well, it's great to have you. And, I want to bring up a subject that it's not a happy subject, but look, statistics tell us that about half the people who get married will go through a divorce. And so I feel as if, especially this time of the year, when statistics are also that we see a spike in those, that it would be good to have someone like yourself come on and talk about that. So let's talk about it, Robert. What would you say to people this morning?
I would say you're right. Unfortunately, it's a tough time of year. We just got through the holidays, so statistically speaking, we do find more people are calling for divorces. I would also say to you, if there's any way to avoid it, you should do so, not only for the financial reasons, but the emotional reasons. I think most people at home know that there are basically two types of divorces in Tennessee, contested and uncontested. Clearly, if you can navigate through a divorce in an uncontested manner, that's the better way to do it. Steve, I find that probably 80% of people can navigate through a divorce in an uncontested format with the right lawyers. So, number one, I think it's critical that you educate your client, or that a client, if he or she's thinking about divorce, they need to understand what the law is. Divorces are all fact specific, but they still fall into a pretty narrow range, believe it or not. And our judges in Bradley County are excellent, and they know what the law is, and if you prepare your case properly and take it to them, you know within a narrow range of what they're going to rule. And so if folks need a divorce, they should find an attorney who is experienced and who can tell them, and should tell them on the very front meeting, once they have the basic understanding of the facts, what the clients can expect. Because it's the unknown that I find, and really in a divorce, the only people that ever win in a highly contested, prolonged divorce are the lawyers.
We're joined by Robert Thompson. I don't want to talk about the emotional part of it, because it's something we don't hear a lot about or think a lot about as far as a layman goes, someone on the outside. I mean, what do you find? You've been doing this a long time, the emotional part of this.
Yeah, it stays with people for years. And more importantly, it adversely affects, obviously, the husband and the wife, but the impact it has on the children. And it can be avoided. It really can if you'll sit down. You'll go to mediation before you go to trial anyway. And with a good mediator and with good attorneys who are not looking at it just to financially gain. Steve, sometimes divorces, I'll give you an example. I've seen cases where attorneys, both sides, will charge $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 each on a case that really, if the people had just been a bit more reasonable and been willing to compromise, the whole thing should have been worked out for $2,500. Not both spending $50,000, and sometimes a lot more than that. So, the emotional aspect will last for years. Putting a child on a stand, it's terrible. Or putting anybody that has to testify against in this setting, it's something you never forget.
Contested versus uncontested, if you had to give any type of percentage or most divorces in Tennessee, contested or uncontested?
That's a great question. I think most of them would start out contested, but ultimately end up being resolved on uncontested grounds, or by agreement, I should say. Mm-hmm. And it's much more expensive to handle a contested case. Property division is fairly self-explanatory. You figure out what your assets and debts are, and you equitably divide those. Some people think if they have a car that's just in their name, or a credit card just in their name, that it's not the other person's responsibility, and that's not the law. Whatever you accumulate during your marriage is considered to be a marital asset, unless you had it before you got married, or if you inherited, and there's a few other exceptions. But generally speaking, anything you accumulate during the marriage is marital asset, and will be equitably divided by the court.
We're joined by Robert Thompson, the Logan Thompson Law Firm. If people are out there and they're considering this, or maybe even on the side of doing it, what are a couple of things you tell people to make sure and talk with their attorneys about to get started? How could they make it even easier on themselves in a tough situation?
Well, if they'll come in and have a list of their debts and assets and their proposed distribution, that gets the financial part out of it pretty quickly. If it's a custody case, if they can come in with the understanding that the courts are typically required to divide we call residential parenting time 50-50. If they come in with that understanding that that's the way the courts are going to lean, is to maximize the time that the children have with each parent, and not come in with, well, I wanted 80% of the time the child to be with me, which is really unrealistic if you have two good parents. They need to come in with the idea that the courts are going to try to do a 50-50 split most of the time. So, and then if they'll just understand that, well, what's the difference in a 60% with me and 40% with my husband, or vice versa? It's only 2 or 3 days a month, and it's not worth the huge battle you're going to go to try to gain 2 or 3 days a month more with your children. And the emotional tear it'll have on that child is so much greater to put them through a contested case versus just working something out.
It's Robert Thompson, and been doing a long time, the Logan Thompson Law Firm. And as we said before, Robert, not just divorce, but really pretty much anything that people are dealing with. The Logan Thompson Law Firm, you guys have added so many lawyers to your firm now. It's amazing what you guys are doing. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve. We do about everything, full service. If there's something that we don't cover day in, day out, we'll refer you to somebody who does specialize in that area. But, Cleveland's our hometown. We support Cleveland. We're all about our area. And to the extent we can help you, please give us a call.
These are people that you've known and trusted for generations. The Logan Thompson Law Firm, LoganThompsonLaw.com is the website. We'll be right back.